Have you ever thought, where is God? How could I get with God today? How could I contact Him? Isaiah chapter 57 tells us where God is and where you can find Him. In Isaiah chapter 57, the Bible says this in verse 15. Thus says the one who is high and lifted up. I love this description. Who inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, and also with him who is of contrite and lowly spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly. The Bible says that God inhabits eternity. That's where he is. In other words, he's outside of time. Now, the fact that God's outside of time means this. He's never surprised by anything, because time would mean it happened and you're like, oh no, this just happened and I can't go back. It means he never has any real regrets, because if he would regret it, since he's outside of time, he could go back and change what he did. The fact that he's outside of time and inhabits eternity means that I can also relax and trust him. Have you ever been on an airplane and the airplane kind of took a dip and you're like, oh no, are things okay? And what do you do to know that things are okay? You look at the flight attendant, because the flight attendants are always on the flights, and they know when there's a problem and there's not a problem. And if you look at their face and they're worried, then you get worried. But if you look at their face and they're like, oh, it's cool, no problem. That sound always happens. You say, we're fine. In the same way, the fact that God inhabits eternity and is never worried means that I don't have to worry either. But he says, I dwell in the high and holy place, and also, here's where God is, with him who is of a contrite and lowly spirit. He says, when you're repentant and you're humble, I'm with you. If you want to get into the presence of God today, change your heart. Get your heart to be humble. Get your heart to be repentant, not wanting to do the evil things that we're tempted to do or maybe have done. And we say, Lord, I'm repenting of that. That's how we get into contact with God. Let me say one more thing. If you want to get into God's presence, you can't rush. It takes time to get your heart to that humble and contrite spot. But if we're rushing in saying, God, okay, I've got 6 minutes and 32 seconds, go. Speak to me. I got to read 2 chapters. I got to pray. And just real quick, I want to be in your presence. That will never work. In many ways, slower is faster. In many things in life, it's true. When you go slower, it actually gets you to where you want to be faster. If you want to be in the presence of God, the fastest way to get there is to slow down and say, Lord, I'm giving you my attention for as long as you want it. And then listen. Turn your eyes on him. Turn your eyes away from the things you've been looking at. Focus on God. That's where God is.